So my Transiversary is coming up. I mark the official start date of my transition as March 21st, 2012, as that's when I began both HRT and the expensive and labor-intensive process of changing my name and gender where possible on my ID. So this is my 4th anniversary of starting transition. Why does it feel so much longer than that? I guess because I spent my life since I was 25 coming out, almost starting transition, starting, stopping, until finally at age 45 I started for keepsies. I turned 50 in September. Really though, I feel like my transition started when I first realized what the heck it was that made me feel so different than I was supposed to as a kid. My awareness that I could actually change the gender I was assigned at birth in my young life was maybe when I was a preteen and read salacious articles in the National Enquirer about evil transvestites and transsexuals. There were a few positive stories here and there about 1% trans elders like Renee Richards or Jan Morris, but the whole thing seemed out of reach to my raised in the 70s, strictly gendered brain. Only rich older folks could ever make that transition. And sometimes I feel like that can still kind of be true. As hard as I prayed or wished before going to sleep with my bits tucked between my legs trying to approximate Barbie or whatever sexless but very gendered dolls I had seen, nothing ever happened. No magic ever came to me and changed things to my preferred gender. It's probably a good thing that pre-adolescent wishes are only magic and tall tales. But I'm not going to get into a whole memoir thing here. Please buy my book, All My Empty Dresses, Memoirs of a Straw Girl, whenever the heck I get it finished. I want to talk about where I am now, either at 4 years or maybe more like 40 years into my transition. The last few have just been a lot more accelerated. The pace seems blinding at times, but at times like I've been doing it forever. This is how I'm looking back these days. Everything before, all the not being able to live up to myself, not able to get past the past, the very real shame and guilt that one has from an entire world around us that still does not, as a whole, welcome or even begin to understand trans folks, or maybe even want to. Where I am right now is somewhere that I never thought I could get to. Even as I started those few years ago, living my truth, very quickly starting HRT, name change, I am living my life presenting as the gender that I identify with all my heart and soul. I'm still anxiety-ridden a lot of the time, someone who overthinks, overreacts sometimes, maybe a lot of the times. But I feel that the difference between the pre-transition me and now is that I'm very honest about the things that get to me. I am too raw for many, but I shrug. It's who I am. Scroll or stroll on by if it's all too much. The thing that finally spurred me to finally commit myself to becoming myself, instead of living the fake experience I felt I was living, was my blood pressure health scare back in 2007. I didn't have a heart attack or a stroke, but I really easily could have. It was a pretty traumatic experience. I didn't know if I would die. When the doctors told me that I really just needed to lose 20 or 30 pounds and live a healthier lifestyle, or that I would be having heart attacks and strokes down the road, I really didn't know if I could do it. Did I have the strength to do so while pretending to be somebody I wasn't? I needed to change things. I kind of resigned myself to living as a bit of a closeted trans person. I ID'd as genderqueer if anybody asked, or sometimes I would tell them I was trans. But I was still presenting as male in public, except occasionally affecting some femme style, or specifically nails, earrings, and the occasional androgynous shirt. And of course underthings that no one else ever saw. The part of transitioning that I did before finally getting to see a doctor, though, and figuring out the hormones, was to get healthier. I went from 280 pounds down to my sveltest ever at 190 or so. So in less than 2 years, by simply eating less and better and drinking less and better, I lost weight, but more important than those numbers was that my hypertension was easily under control and that I had good health when getting blood work done for transition as well. By the time I actually started HRT in 2012, I was back up to maybe 200, 205 pounds, so not so bad. Transition, to keep the food talk going, is no cakewalk. And now I've gained back another 40 pounds or so on top of that, 10 or 15, 4 years after that. So more than half my weight loss has come back. It's also a different kind of fat in different places. The boobs and ass, I'd really like to keep. But I'm feeling the need to get back to that weird diet I did to get healthier a few years ago. I ate less and better food, and exercised a little bit every day or two. This weight gain unhealthiness has really crept into my life in the last couple of very hard years, that I've not been able to find myself steady employment or figure out how to make my writing and my art pay for itself. The worse off my state of finances and my emotional health, the more unhealthy I've become. Maybe that's normal. The last brief job I had, as I detailed in my last written post, I couldn't physically do it. This was a big deal to me. However, it was handled weirdly aside. More recently, though, my work-life fortunes have started to turn around. They really have. I finally got a job. I'm going to become a visual media assistant at a local documentary film festival next week sometime. There's some paperwork. And I feel like I can excel at this, doing something I've actually been trained to do: edit video and film and take photos, archive things. I'm doing this anyway. It starts next week. It goes till the end of August, and I feel like having that stability going is a really good thing for me. Every day, earning money in a positive, friendly environment and doing something I'm really excited to be doing. It will keep me from binging on TV shows and comfort food. Oh, Chinese food, I'm going to miss you, because I don't eat the vegetables. And just sitting and staring at Facebook all day. We all do that too much. My blood pressure is actually pretty good, as it has been for the last 5 years, and my diet is not half as bad as it was in 2007. But I still need to get back to eating a better balance of food and get back to some daily exercise beyond my typical walks to the tavern and back. 4+ years into my transition, and I feel like I'm starting over again in life. I don't have any expectation that I can shed all this weight that I've gained, nor do I feel any shame or guilt about it. Well, maybe a little. It's hard to shake that shit. But not really in regards to weighing X pounds, but, more in regard to having a healthier lifestyle as I transition and I age. It's kind of like the first few years of my transition have been some sort of really expensive school where I've spent my life savings learning how to be my real self. I transitioned as well from a long-term job to being mostly unemployed, but doing my art almost every day and finished writing my memoir. I fundraised. I've had a couple of small part-time jobs, and now upcoming I have this full-time thing doing the kind of creative, collaborative work that I've always wanted to do. So all I have to report really on the cusp of my 5th year living as my authentic self is that I am becoming my authentic self. And as much as I feel like sometimes the world's moving too fast, or sometimes I feel like it's too slow, I have, in fact, simply taken the time I needed to get myself to a place where most of the shame and guilt at being who I really am, and at what I saw as my failure, being the other person I was trying to be. Joe never really reached for that brass ring because it wasn't his to grab. It was mine. Josie is the one reaching now. I still haven't grabbed it, but I'm getting close. I can almost grasp it now.